Back in the year 2020, like many of you, I spent a bunch of that time just sitting in my room doing basically nothing whatsoever. I don't know where you guys are based at, but for me, I was stationed in Germany at the time, so restrictions were even heavier in Europe than it was in the United States. And going into 2021, it had turned out I was getting an assignment back to the US for the first time in 3 years, and this assignment was going to change the course of my life forever, far more than I could have possibly imagined. But first, I was going to make a massive financial decision that was going to aid in that. So as the title implies, this massive financial decision I'm referring to was me purchasing a home, and I think it's worth explaining why exactly I decided to make this decision. At the age of 24, making that sweet, sweet government cheese of $5 a year, with a nice side of patriotism, benefits, and lifelong friends in the form of disabilities. Being at the idle mindset of 24 at the time, I decided, with little to no direction in my life, that it was going to make a lot of sense for me to purchase this house, because the way assignments work, at least in the Air Force, is I was overseas for 3 years, which means that it was cheaper for the military to send me to another assignment that was overseas. Since this did not happen, and the military decided to send me stateside, it was very probable that I wasn't going to see another overseas assignment again for a very long time, and it wasn't likely that I was going to even want to go back either. This is of course due to the fact that at this point I'd spent years away from my family and friends, and frankly, if I was just going to have to keep bouncing around back and forth, well, how about I just don't do that? I say this primarily because this isn't the end-all be-all answer if you're in the military and you don't want to move around. However, if you do have a stateside assignment, you have a list that you can make of assignments you'd prefer to go to. And if you decide to just keep that blank or even keep the base that you're at for that list and nothing else, then chances are the military will absolutely willingly forget about you and you'll just be stuck at that base forever. For those of you who haven't been in the military and still aren't quite following what I'm saying, in short, this is just a bunch of military rambling nonsense for I wanted to stay close to my friends and family, and so I figured I might as well just go ahead and buy a house now that I'm back stateside. So my first few days back, I actually went ahead and started the process to go ahead and purchase a house, and the reason why this is absolutely insane is looking at apartments when I was sitting in my hotel room on a Saturday morning, and just at a spur of the moment, I decided to start looking up stuff about houses in the local area. Then I was requesting a VA lender contact me about the process of buying a home, and nearly 4 tedious months later, I was a homeowner, and it was great. Like, this is my house. No one can sit here and tell me what I can or can't do with it. I'm going to make this place look great, because this is my house to take care of as I see fit. Well, that was kind of the problem. It's up to me to take care of this house, and there's no one else that can bear the responsibility of it. If a blizzard hits the house, then I have to shovel all the snow all by myself. If I decide, I don't really want to take care of it, well, guess what? Now that snow has turned into ice on your driveway. Now it's even harder to get rid of. And guess what happens now? That ice is slowly breaking apart your driveway, which is going to lower your property value. Speaking of property value, want to color your whole house salmon pink? Nope, can't do that. Gonna lower the property value. Want to skip out on cutting your grass? Well, guess what? The longer you wait, the harder it is to cut. Also, guess what? It lowers your property value. And also, I happen to live in a small town at the time, so, in the off chance people are driving by my house, guess what? They get to see that my house is a decayed mess that no one's taking care of. Who wants to buy that? Nobody. And for anybody that hasn't owned a home before, I get these sound like small nitpicks, and they kind of are, but put your salesman cap on for a second. In the event that you don't want to live here for the rest of your life, you will have to sell this home one day. And all the decisions that you made over the years has been built upon this house, and it's going to show in the foundation and the insides. So no matter how seemingly dumb or nitpicky it is, well, guess what? You need people to want to buy your house, and now all your decisions are reflected on your household. But of course, you still have a life outside of simply being a homeowner. In my case, I was juggling my relationship with my dad, who was also living at the house at the time. I was juggling a relationship with my girlfriend, and I was juggling my relationship with the Air Force. So now, I've been stationed here for a year, which means that I've owned this house for just about a year, and unfortunately, 2 out of my 3 relationships are doing pretty poorly at this point. In a similar fashion to how I got my house, in the year of 2022, I decided that being in the Air Force for another 13-ish years of my life just wasn't going to cut it. My long-time turbulent relationship with my dad had very disappointingly come to an end a couple months at this point, which I'll happily make a video on at a much later time, I think. But to bring focus back to the house, all the amazing utility that you do get from a house had completely fallen flat on its face in my case. At this point, I was living paycheck to paycheck, so All the amazing things I wanted to do with my house, I just simply couldn't do, or else it was just going to put me in the negative and I was just going to start missing payments. And I would like to say that I've more or less prided myself on being a responsible person, especially a financially responsible person. So you know your boy's got to sit here and suffer in silence, living paycheck to paycheck instead of spending more money so that I can be deeper in the hole. But you know what? It just doesn't matter anymore, does it? Because I'm leaving the military, which means that eventually I'm going to leave this house, so I'm eventually going to sell it, and I'm going to move in with my girlfriend. Everything's going to be great. Not exactly. I still have to wait until August before I get to actually leave my base and move in with my girlfriend. And for those of you that are wondering, wait, why doesn't your girlfriend just move in with you? You literally have a house all to yourself. Some of you are probably even thinking, well, whatever the reasons are, I'm sure they're really dumb. You are correct. But at any rate, I do plan on actually keeping the house, but renting it. So everything's going to go great. I'm going to charge it for way more than what it's worth, and it's in great condition, so everyone's going to absolutely clamor to get this, right? Well, I can't say that that exactly happened either. This is North Dakota, so there really isn't much in the way of industry, except for oil mining. But this is also during the Biden administration, which means that all that is completely halted at this moment. People are anticipating another massive recession, and as we all know in hindsight, the job market and the housing market is only going to keep getting worse. So to nobody's surprise, I had to keep lowering the rent amount before I finally found a tenant. And my tenant was a swell fella. He loved to be late on payments. He busted a massive hole in the wall, and eventually he lost his job, so he just decided that he was done with the lease. He did let the property management company I hired know, but he wasn't afraid to leave a massive mess behind that I also had to pay for out of pocket after the fact. That's just the thing. This guy, he was a tenant for almost a year. During that time, I was renting with my girlfriend, and then we moved to Wisconsin, and every time this dude was late on a payment, well, it didn't matter. I still have a mortgage that I have to pay. That hole in the wall? Guess who got to pay for it? When he called and he said that the sink stopped working in the bathroom? Guess who got to pay for it? At my highest of highs being a homeowner, I was living out the American dream in complete and utter independence. But when reality hit, it was really just a financial prison for me. I had this whole new life now that I'd come back to the States, and I got to live it with my dad. I had some great friends I was stationed with. I had the sweetest girlfriend ever that I could brag about. But for the first time in my life, my finances were a shackle because I didn't have anything. In a few short months, reality had settled, and I did not like how it hit. And as I recall, after that first tenant left, I think it took about 3 months for another tenant to settle in. And this was when I moved to Wisconsin, so that was 3 months that I had to pay for rent, and I had to pay for the mortgage. On the flip side, the next tenant that I got was an absolute angel. She had no problem paying rent on time, and she didn't destroy anything, and she made the house look a million times better. But no matter what way you cut it, I'm juggling a house and rent, and I'm not even in the same state as the house anymore. Fast forwarding to the year 2024, I still have the house, things still aren't really improving financially, and funny enough, I still actually am interested in getting a house, but guess what? I can't get one while holding this one at the same time. So now that we're into the year 2024, I've decided I'm just going to sell this house. I have no interest in blaming this house for all my financial problems because I am definitely aware that that's not what happened. If you reach to this point of the video, you're probably thinking, man, this guy really likes to feel bad for himself. And if that is how it's been portrayed, I do apologize. I'm absolutely not here to make a video to cry about how I made financial decisions that were bad and now I have to pay the price for them. If it isn't obvious yet, the point of this video is people are sold this dream that you simply buy a house and it's wonderful because it's your home and it's an appreciating value, so it's only going to improve your life the longer you hold it, whether you realize it or not. What I am here to say is getting a house is a huge double-edged sword financially, and it can absolutely make or break you if you're not careful. A lot of the top earners in the country have made their millions if not billions based on mortgages, but it's very difficult to pull off the same success story. So it took several more months for me to actually sell my home after I made the decision to do so. It was about March of 2024 when I made this decision. And through absolute sheer luck, I found someone who actually wanted to buy the home. Again, not that the house was bad, and the location wasn't horrible, but the area I lived in was partially revolved around a military community. So how many people wanted to buy this house and actually stay there? Another thing worth considering is cost of living is still going up. Interest rates are still going up for mortgages, and the job market is only getting more and more competitive. So in total, I had officially owned the home in March of 2021, and it was officially sold and no longer mine by October of 2024. So now you must be thinking, oh, well, heck yeah, man, you finally sold the home, so you must have made a bunch of money off of it, right? Well, that's still not the beginning end of the story, unfortunately. I did make money off of selling the home, however, it's probably not as much as you would expect, and the fate of those profits I might share in another video. All in all, I had the naivete of a 24-year-old boy and I was expecting absolute independence, and all the greatest optimistic projections I could have possibly imagined as a homeowner. It ended with me being a 28-year-old man coming out the other side, just barely getting out of a prison sentence. Or at least so it felt. I just want to go ahead and reiterate, this isn't a sob story. I was a disassociative kid that didn't respect the importance and the power of money, and this spawned a nonchalant cavalier attitude I absolutely did not deserve. I'm not someone who desperately dwells on my mistakes in a negative light. I am more than happy to learn from my mistakes, and so with that being said, when it comes to making mistakes, I don't really wish to take back said mistakes. These decisions have made who I am, and I'm perfectly happy to learn and adapt, even if that means embarrassing myself. So hopefully somebody out there can learn something from this. Hopefully there aren't too many people that have had similar experiences, but, feel free to let me know if you have. Thank you for listening, and until next time.